Katy Perry was one of the biggest pop stars of the late noughties and the first half of the 2010s, scoring 9 number ones in the US and selling millions of digital singles. And despite being nominated 13 times, the Californian singer has never won the music industry's most prestigious prize, a Grammy. So what is Katy's history with the Grammys, and who has she lost out to over the years? What might be some of the reasons why she's never won over the Grammy committee? What does Katy have to say about her run of bad luck at the Grammys? And is she ever likely to win one in the future? So many questions, let's find out. Katy Perry released some of the most era-defining pop songs of the late noughties and 2010s, including songs such as I Kissed a Girl, Firework and Roar, amongst many others. Her second album, Teenage Dream, became a blockbuster, going to number 1 in the UK and US and spawning 5 number 1 singles. At the time of writing, she still has almost 50 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and she has sold over 100 million digital singles in the US. And as I'm sure you already know, the Grammys are the musical equivalent of the Oscars, the industry's most sought after accolade. All of the other pop queens who debuted around the same time as Katy and who've enjoyed similar levels of success have all bagged themselves the coveted trophy. Lady Gaga has 13, Rihanna has 9, Katy's former foe Taylor Swift has won 11, and during that lengthy period when there was bad blood, see what I did there, between the two, Taylor even went as far as mocking Katy about her lack of Grammys in the Look What You Made Me Do video. So how the hell is it possible that Katy has never won the prize trophy? So let's do a quick run through Katy's Grammy history. Interestingly, she was never nominated in the Best New Artist category at the start of her career, but received her first nomination for Best Pop Female Vocal for I Kissed a Girl in 2009, but was beaten by Adele's Chasing Pavements. She was nominated again in the same category the following year, but was beaten by Beyoncé's Halo. Katy was nominated for Best Pop Female Vocal Performance again in 2011 for Teenage Dream, but was beaten by Gaga, who won for Bad Romance. So as you can see, some pretty stiff competition indeed. In the Best Pop Vocal Album category, Katy was nominated for Teenage Dream, but lost out to Gaga again, who won for the Fame Monster. In the Best Pop Collaboration with Vocals category, Katy got a nod for California Girls with Snoop Dogg, but was beaten by Herbie Hancock's version of Imagine, with Pink, Seal and India.Arie. Incidentally, her old friend Snoop Dogg has never won a Grammy either. And in 2011, Katy was nominated for the Granddaddy of Grammys, the Album of the Year award, but the prize was won by Arcade Fire. The pop vote had probably been split between Katy and Gaga, and the Grammy committee do tend to favour more mature adult contemporary songwriting, and it was highly unlikely they were ever going to give it to a pop record anyway. And by the time 2012 rolled around, Katy was nominated for Record of the Year for Firework, but was beaten again by Adele's classic Rolling in the Deep. Katy also got a nod in the Best Pop Solo Performance category for Firework that year, but was again beaten by Adele and her mega hit Someone Like You. I should also mention that 2012 was the year that Adele won 6 Grammys and was at the height of her powers after the phenomenal success of 21, which had been released the year previously. Katy re-released the Teenage Dream album in 2012, which included a number of new tracks such as Wide Awake. That song was nominated in 2013 for Best Pop Solo Performance, but was again beaten by Adele's Set Fire to the Rain. But Katy isn't one to hold a grudge, as the two have been good friends for years now and are always gushing about one another in interviews. Not sure I could be as gracious as Katy, I'd be raging. After the release of Katy's third album, Prism, in 2013, she was again nominated for Best Pop Vocal Performance for her mega hit Roar. And this time the competition didn't seem as intense as previous years, and that Katy might finally be in with the chance of winning. But alas, it was not to be. She was beaten by Lorde and her song Royals. Katy was also nominated for one of the biggest awards of the night, Best Song for Roar, but was beaten again by Lorde's Royals. In 2015, Katy was nominated for Best Pop Duo Group Performance for Dark Horse, which she did with Juicy J, but was beaten by Christina Aguilera and A Great Big World with Say Something. Going up against Aguilera in a vocal category is always going to be tough, as she really does have an amazing set of pipes. And Katy was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album also that year for Prism, but lost out to British crooner Sam Smith, who was the toast of the evening, winning 4 awards, the most that year. Follow-up albums Witness in 2017 and Smile in 2020 weren't huge commercial successes and didn't receive any nominations. So at present, it's been quite some time since the Grammys paid any attention to Katy. According to GoldDerby.com, she is the 10th most nominated artist without a Grammy victory, tied with the rapper Nas. The all-time record is held by classical conductor Zubin Mehta, who was nominated 18 times without winning. Even the most ardent of Katy fans would agree that while she is undeniably a good singer, she was always going to find it tough going up against vocalists such as Gaga or Adele. Katy's voice doesn't have the range or power of Gaga or Beyoncé's, or the soulful tone and emotional heft of Adele's. The same could also be said about Rihanna, who isn't the strongest singer in the industry and doesn't tend to write her own material, but she's won 9. But perhaps her music was considered a bit cooler than Katy's, and her collaborations with rappers such as Jay-Z helped her gain some credibility. But when you see that Rihanna, who I love by the way, has picked up 9 Grammys, it definitely feels like Katy has been shortchanged somewhere along the line. Variety magazine in 2021 asked Katy how she feels about her quote-unquote failure to win a Grammy, to which she had this to say. To be honest, I always go by numbers and they don't lie, and I'm good with that. Everyone has an opinion and that's wonderful, but numbers are numbers. Math is sacred. Katy also had this to say about award shows in general in an interview with the New York Times from 2017. All the award shows are fake and all the awards that I've won are fake. They're constructs. Which I think means she doesn't believe they're representative of audiences. Despite being able to play guitar, write her own songs, and being a good singer, Katy has never seemed to be able to win over the critics in the way that Gaga or Beyoncé have. The Grammy committee, especially in the main categories, tend to favour more adult contemporary traditional singer-songwriters. And the committee is more than likely dominated by a lot of men, and Katy's big and bright sounding pop music and her camp and colourful cartoon image is more than likely lost on them. The Grammys committee over the years has been heavily criticised for the lack of diversity amongst its ranks, and in 2021 the secret Grammy committees, who were said to rig the nominations, were gotten rid of. The same year, the Academy invited 2,700 new members in an attempt to increase diversity, and the Academy are aiming to greatly increase female membership. Whilst pop is a very broad term and encompasses a lot of subgenres, for years now Katy has had a variety pack approach to her albums. Although they undeniably feature very strong material, they often sound disjointed, more like a compilation album than an actual body of work, and I think this makes it harder for her to be taken seriously by critics. Dabbling in lots of different genres on the one album is more acceptable for artists in the earlier stages of their career who are still trying to find themselves musically. But at some point they are expected to take a more consistent music direction. Her albums, perhaps with the exception of Witness, don't tend to be musically cohesive. They can sometimes feel like a collection of hit singles rather than a body of work. And then there's the matter of Katy's endorsement deals over the years, which have been interesting. Whilst I can imagine it must be lovely getting those multi-million-pound payouts into your bank account, like everything there is a price to pay, and in this case it's musical credibility. Your bank account might get a huge boost, but in the long run it's your musical credibility that takes a serious hit. I know virtually every major recording artist except Adele does tons of sponsorships, but Katy's have been at times somewhat questionable. There were those skincare infomercials, a move which almost killed Cher's career in the 90s, and her work with Pop Chips, a company she invested in herself. Endorsement deals are of course more acceptable for teen pop acts like the Spice Girls, who have a limited shelf life and are never going to win over the Grammy committee anyway. No shade to the Spice Girls, I'm still a massive fan. But if you want a successful long-term music career at the forefront of the industry, at some point you are going to have to win over the critics. Jennifer Lopez, like Katy, has never won a Grammy, and in recent years has bemoaned the lack of validation she has received from critics. Whilst most would agree that Katy is a much better singer-songwriter, I'm using Jenny as an example, as both singers have struggled to gain recognition from their peers. But in my humble opinion, the sheer number of endorsement deals Jenny did over the years severely dented her credibility, something that seems to have also happened to Katy, but perhaps to a lesser degree. And in 2022, Katy was back at it again with a huge partnership with Just Eat. I know we all have to make a living, but Katy has so much money already. Why does she need to keep doing such questionable partnerships? If she was in the earlier stages of her career or really needed the cash, it would be understandable. I think going forward, she needs to be more strategic and discerning with which brands she partners with. So, is it likely that Katy will ever win a Grammy? Her play residency in Las Vegas is supposed to last a few years, and it looks as if Katy has embraced being a legacy artist for the time being. If she was attempting a musical comeback and I was her A&R person, I would advise her to get back to her alternative pop, rock and maybe some country roots, a genre of music she can legitimately lay claim to, and retain her quirkiness and personality in the songs. It would help renew interest in her music and allow people to see her develop as an artist, something that for the most part has been missing from her career. But in saying that, she has achieved more than most people ever will in 10 lifetimes and has earned enough money her children's children would never need to work if she sees fit. She's probably far happier today than she was as an all-conquering, globe-trotting superstar, which maybe isn't all it's cracked up to be. I'm sure Katy has far higher priorities these days than winning Grammys anyway. I should also mention that 2012 was the year that Adele won 6 Grammys, and earlier stages of their career who are still trying to find themselves musically. And don't forget to check out my video about who Whitney Houston really was. Thanks for watching.